The fact that Stonehenge, one of the most famous structures in the world, coincides with the summer and winter solstices has led the majority of us to believe for a very long time that it was an ancient calendar. No one, however, could figure out how it really operated. Recently, a research team published a new study. Stonehenge may have operated on the same premise as the ancient Egyptian solar calendar. Their 365.25-day year served as the foundation for their calendar. The large enigmatic Sarson circle had stones that each represented a day of a month. These big stones are what we call sarsens. In reality, it is a perpetual calendar that allows users to keep tabs on each winter solstice sunset. People who lived close to Stonehenge, which is now in Wiltshire, UK, were able to keep track of the days and months of the year in this manner. This fascinating finding in 2020 has helped us better comprehend this enigmatic calendar system. The team has identified the source of 50 of the 52 sarsens that make up the iconic stone circle we all know about. They investigated the chemical makeup of these sarsens and discovered that they originated in Wiltshire's West Woods, around 15 miles from the monument. In addition to coming from the same source, all 50 sarsens were installed in their present placements around the same time. Together with an inner ring that is fashioned like a horseshoe, they make up Stonehenge's outer circle. There are a few blue stones, which are smaller rocks close to the monument's core. The scientists were able to locate the blue stones' Welsh roots. They also found that the sarsens had a similar chemical composition, consisting of over 99% silica and trace elements. Two sarsens were distinct from the primary cluster as well as from one another. At Stonehenge, these sarsens were erected in three distinct configurations. A massive stone circle that dominates the monument was created by 30 of them. The remaining station stones within the stone circle were built into 5 trilithons, while the 4 station stones outside the circle formed a rectangular arrangement. 2 vertical stones with a horizontal lintel at the top are known as trilithons. In the context of this calendar system, the numbers 35 and 4 are rather intriguing. The 30 uprights that are spaced out around the central source and ring can stand in for the calendar days. That is, multiplied by 12 to obtain 360. The result is 365 when 5 more are added from the center trilithons. You realize you need to add a leap day every 4 years in order to align the calendar with the solar year truly. The group thinks the prehistoric people used the 4 station stones to keep track of this section. As a result, they used the same set of stones each year to couple the summer and winter solstices in this method. 5,000 years ago, Stonehenge's construction began, and it took more than 1,000 years to complete. However, the Stonehenge you see now is not the same structure as it was in the beginning. Many of its ancient bluestones and sarsens have been fractured and removed by people. Since many generations have passed since Stonehenge's creation and have taken part in its construction and reconstruction, the whole monument has also evolved through time. Humans built Stonehenge in 4 phases. They originally constructed a circle that had a circumference of nearly 330 feet and encircled 56 pits. A high bank flanks the ditch of the enclosure, while a low bank borders the outer. Some ideas even contend that this area formerly served as a kind of collective graveyard. A horseshoe of sarsen trilithons was later added during the second stage of construction. They built an almost 2-mile-long ceremonial avenue in the third stage. It could have followed the bluestones route. These bluestones have been put into a double arc, and people relocated from the Aubrey holes to the Q and R holes. The entry stones and the main enclosure ditch were both redone at this point. The fourth step included breaking the stones and sculptures being carved into the sarsens. The bluestones were later changed once again. Some ideas suggest the builders' methods were more closely related to woodworking than masonry, since they were able to get these heavy, large stones to the site and get them to stand erect without leaving any written evidence. They employed tongue and groove joints to fit these stones together, creating mortise holes and projecting tenons in the process. Wooden poles that served as brace supports were inserted into the holes after they had been excavated for the stones. The stone was then put into place and hoisted upward using ropes. To keep the stone in place, they filled the hole with debris. This amazing monument was constructed by a pre-industrial agricultural community using only stone and bone tools. Even the wheel had not yet been created. The phrase "ringing rocks" also refers to this peculiar structure. The stones of Stonehenge have several very peculiar acoustic characteristics. They make a loud clanging noise when you hit them. That could have been one of the motivations for their first long-distance transportation. People in certain ancient societies thought that these rocks had medicinal properties. Over 1 million people visit this very well-liked venue each year. When it originally became accessible to the general public, there were no limits. Thus, people were free to stroll among the stones and even climb on them. Visitors would often chisel off chunks of the rock to bring them home as souvenirs until the 19th century. They would also etch their initials into the stones. They even set up camp within the stone circle and built fire pits, oblivious to the severe risk that doing so posed to the integrity of the whole monument. More limits were placed on visitors over time, and in 1997, the monument was ultimately roped off due to extensive stone deterioration. Therefore, unless you want to pay extra for the stone circle experience, which may be scheduled outside of regular visiting hours if you wish to visit, you can only see it from a distance. A large gate to the northeast and a narrower one on the southern side were the initial entrances inside Stonehenge's enclosure. Today, if you look at it, you'll see that there are many more gaps, largely as a result of tracks that were originally spanned by the monument but were subsequently created. There has been significant earth disturbance at Stonehenge, and it wasn't simply accidental tourists building fire pits. In the 17th century, a group of persons who were searching for riches excavated a large, deep pit within the stone circle. Then there was Charles Darwin, who also engaged in some digging while researching the local earthworm population. He was curious as to how these worms would eventually affect soil-based items. He saw that a stone that had fallen there had sunk further into the earth and recognized that this was due to the constant soil churning by these little critters. There was a hypothesis that Stonehenge was constructed as a kind of computer that forecasts solar and lunar eclipses back in 1963. Later, others said that it was really built as a memorial to relatives who had died away. According to this idea, the stone's stability symbolized the afterlife's eternities. The largest sarsen there weighs around 30 tons, while the average one weighs about 25 tons. Go outside the visitor center to the outdoor gallery to see a replica of a sarsen stone if you want to get a sense of just how big these stones are in person. It's a replica of a freestanding upright from one of the trilithons that can be found within the monument's inner horseshoe. On the basis of actual archaeological evidence of homes discovered in that region, Stonehenge has 5 Neolithic dwellings. Each of them had a floor made of chalk, stake-built walls, and sometimes even furniture. Additionally, a lot of rubbish was found, indicating that the locals enjoyed parties and feasts. According to research, humans lived in these homes for 50 to 100 years, approximately 4,500 BCE, when the architects of Stonehenge moved the sarsen stones there. Generations of humanity, from the Stone Age to the early Bronze Age, underwent significant transformations at the same time they were constructing Stonehenge. They began to travel and trade more, which implies they were no longer as stationary and secluded. As a result, they communicated far more than their forefathers did, even across international borders. This is how they could have spread the word about Stonehenge, and it's also when the whole mystery and fascination with the monument began. That is all for this video. We'll be back soon with another informative video. Don't forget to like and share this video. To keep exploring ancient history together, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time,